it's a pleasure to see you, especially together. I think it's quite important to explore the chemistry between Watson and Holmes. I think it worked because both of you came with an understanding of how the pair should react to one another. Is that the right impression?
I certainly remember knowing that Robert was playing Sherlock and being introduced actually in this hotel.
Yeah.
That what immediately pricked our ears was that there was so much material to get from these two guys who, in these extraordinary situations, but basically who lived together and had to survive together, and you know, who did the washing and who turned off the heating, and you know, he was obviously a nightmare to live with. And for me, that was just there was a plethora of fun to be had.
Have you been talking to Susan? I don't know what you're talking about. I would say this too, that once it was Jude and I, half the pressure was off me, because the two of us had to create the third thing, which was the way these characters interact. And the more uptight, because he's nothing if he's not an uptight guy, but the more he's stretching into these kind of collars and things, if you see my rugby ball and all that kind of, like, you know, gentlemanly stuff, the freer I could be to be just a little more eccentric. And then there's times when I'm reeled in, and then there's times when we're just bickering, and almost like, if you ask me, Sherlock Holmes would never raise his voice and start yelling at somebody, but that was our interpretation of, yeah, sometimes they're bickering like two old queens who are wondering what street they want to go antiquing on. But I think that sometimes you just had to dial it up a little bit just so you're touching that high, and then keep bringing it back down in the middle. Because
at its heart, even you know, even if it's our interpretation, the source material is quite extraordinary. It's these two men living together because of necessity, and they've both got flaws, as we all have. They've both got eccentricities, but they're also both rather brilliant.
You're a gambler.
I think it's quite exciting that you guys had the opportunity to take those beloved characters and turn them into something modern but true to the beginning at the same time. Was that a difficult thing to achieve?
That was the reason I did the gig. It was so much, you know, what a challenge, and also what a thrill, right?
Yeah, and I also tend to think on just a purely business level, is this going to be a film that I can tell my friends they're safe to bring their kids to? Is this a film that an older audience can enjoy and not be like, oh, they don't make movies like they used to? And can my peers, somewhat older and somewhat younger, all agree that this is essentially in the ballpark of what we call a good theatrical release experience of film, you know? So I really tend to think like an audience member, and oftentimes Jude and I would just be thinking, speaking of the way Conan Doyle wrote in reverse, we'd be thinking in reverse. If I'm watching this movie, what do I feel I need to see right here, right now?
Yeah.
It kind of smells like this, and then we shoot that.
That's true. As a final question, do you think he did write for cinema without knowing it, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle?
Gosh, I think he wrote for his audience.
Yeah, and that's a mass audience.
Mm.